What's up YouTube? In this video, I'm going to be breaking down Ryley's Logbait Mighty Miner gameplay, where he managed to climb to #1 in the world. I'm going to be explaining interactions, his matchup strategies, and writing it all down in note form in the top right of your screen. These tips and tricks will help you improve at the game, and who knows, maybe hit #1 in the world someday. Without further ado, let's get into breaking his gameplay down. The first thing that I want to note is this Goblin Barrel placement he starts the game off with. He plays it in the corner of the tower so that if the opponent has Tornado, it's going to be hard for them to get King Tower off of it. He goes for a cannon to deal with this Mighty Miner, just sort of snipes it before it even gets to his side. And then he goes for this, Princess, and he's hovering Skeletons. Now, a lot of you might be wondering why he's doing this. And the reason is that he knows his opponent has Fireball in his deck. Most Drill Cycle decks run Fireball. And if the opponent tries fireballing both the Princess and the tower, the Skeletons will push the Princess just high enough, about half a tile, so that the fireball will miss. It's a really high IQ play, but a really smart play at the same time. You also just, if you notice, you saw how Ryley went for his Goblin Barrel just seconds before his Mighty Miner died. Now the reason he does that is so that he gets back to his Goblin Barrel 1 card quicker. Because the Mighty Miner's on the field, he has 3 card cycle. So you'll see throughout this video that it's quite common that Ryley will go for either a Princess or a Goblin Barrel right before his Mighty Miner dies, just so that he can cycle back to it quicker. And cycling back to it quicker just means that it'll be easier for him to defend or attack, depending on the game situation. Opponent goes Mighty Miner in the back, and this is something I wouldn't have done, but I kind of learned from Ryley, is that he goes for these pre-placed cannons pretty high up, pretty frequently to deal with Mighty Miners, just I guess to snipe them. Goes for Log and Evo Skeletons. This is a good play, but it's also, you can only do it like without risk if the opponent doesn't have Log, and the opponent didn't have Log. This is a crazy push, but one thing I want you guys to notice about how we went about that attack is that he goes for his Goblin Barrel in the opposite lane to his Mighty Miner, when he has Evo Goblin Barrel, that is. The reason being is that he's threatening to get damage with his normal Goblin Barrel on the right side, and then he's also threatening to get damage with his Mighty Miner plus the fake Goblins of the Evo Goblin Barrel in the left side. So that just forces out the most elixir possible, or will get him the most damage possible. So again, really nice play by Ryley. Again, defends pretty cleanly, just use Ice Spirit, protects his Princess with Skeletons. He has 3 card cycle on the field, so he's cycling pretty aggressively. He just defended a push, and so now he's going for, honestly, just spam. Like, he's spamming so hard. The opponent defends really well, but you can see how once he's defended and then he's going on his attack, when he has a Mighty Miner counter pushing, he's just abusing 3 card cycle. Since the opponent goes for a Prediction Log, he just goes for a Log Ice Spirit, but the Prediction Fireball was pretty nice by the opponent. I don't think you can really predict a Prediction Fireball. But look at this, look at this. Opponent has to deal with Evo Skeletons, Princess, and 2 Goblin Barrels. He's just done for. There's nothing he can do. Like, you have Fire Spirit for one lane, you have Log, but then what do you do about the rest? So, really nice game and a lot to take away from it. This next game Ryley's playing is against Hog EQ. Kind of funny. First thing to note is obviously this default cannon placement. You want to be playing your cannon here, or when they go for it in the opposite lane, you can put it here. But these are the 2 cannon the default cannon placements counter Hog. I mean, I'm sure you guys know that if you play cannon in any deck. Just cycling cards, and I think Ryley mentioned in this video that his starting plays in general against Hog EQ is he wants to go split Skeletons and then Goblin Barrel. Split Skeletons first, so that he gets back to his Evo Skeletons quicker because they're kind of more useful in this matchup. And then Goblin Barrel because that's his second evolution. And that's kind of irrespective of whatever deck you're running. You usually just want to be cycling your evolutions at the start so that you can get back to them as soon as possible, just because of how strong evolutions are in this game. Of course, going Goblin Barrels when you have Mighty Miner on the field is going to be a reoccurring theme in this video. Here, he kind of cooks him, I'm not going to lie. He goes for Evo Skeletons to force out the bomb, and he kind of like baits the opponent into going in for a Hog EQ play. Now, this is just an overcommit because Ryley still has a Princess on the field, and he's somehow still going to have to deal with this like counter push of Evo opposite lane Barrel, Ice Spirit, and then he has the fake Goblin Barrel plus Mighty Miner tanking on the right. And the opponent has to choose like which way does he want to defend, and at the same time, he's now also got 2 Princesses. Like, this is kind of nuts. Ever since Dagger Duchess has been nerfed, I think Logbait has become an incredibly strong deck. And I mean, you can see why. This is just game over before it even started. It took him like a minute. So you really got to try and abuse the fact that Hog EQ can't kill princesses. It can't really deal with these decks very easily. Because all they have is Log, and then they have to use Firecracker and other stuff to kill the rest of the bait cards. In this third game, Ryley is playing against RG Cycle. Now this is not an easy matchup at all, even though he's going to make it look like it's an easy matchup. First thing to note is that you want to use your Mighty Miner to counter Royal Ghosts. You don't really want to use your Cycle cards, because they're kind of more useful against Fishermen to get a positive Elixir trade on defense, stuff like that. Princess, again, he has 3-card cycle, so he goes Princess first, and note how he went Princess first before Cannon. That's for a couple of reasons. It keeps the Cannon HP alive for a little bit longer, and also, in order to defend this, you can see how he's already back to Princess. That's obviously going to help him quite a lot, and he goes for opposite lane because he doesn't want to be going same lane at the start. RG magically gets a hit, that's just, unfortunate. But here he thinks about protecting, then lets it go. I mean, you don't want to be too aggressive with protecting your princesses. But if you guys remember at the start of the video, I said that in matchups where they don't have an easy way of killing your princesses, that's where you want to stack them in the back. This is a perfect example. The opponent has Fireball and Bar Barrel. Those are his spells, so it's going to be really hard for the opponent to kill Princess in the back without just straight fireballing it, and of course they have a slower cycle than you, so you can always outcycle them. This is a bad RG by the opponent. I mean, he can just get back to a Mighty Miner, and the opponent doesn't have Fisherman. You gotta remember that. A Fisherman usually they'll use to pull the Mighty Miner away, but since he doesn't have Fisherman, I mean, Ryley just goes in. And I don't know what the opponent's gonna try and do. Let's try and use his Ghost on defense, E-Spirit right side, but he's just getting so much damage, and you can see how he's keeping up the pressure. The opponent didn't have Bar Barrel back. If you remember, the opponent was still 1 card away, so he's forced to use Fisherman, which is really nice because now if Ryley can get back to his Mighty Miner, then the opponent can't Fisherman it off. Ice Spirit can fully counter a Fisherman in that position. Evo Bomber is a bit of a bummer, pun intended. This is so smart, okay? I want you guys just to watch this. I'm even going to pause it. Look what Ryley does. He uses his Mighty Miner here, right? And you can see how it's on the very outside, just to deal enough damage to the ghost so that it doesn't like crap on the tower. Then he pops the ability, and he would play it on the outside so that when he pops the ability, it will go on the outside on the other side, so that the Evo Bomber doesn't line up on it. I mean, that's such a smart play that I feel like he was talking whilst making this play. And I feel like it's so easy to mess this up. I mean, you can just see the level difference between your average player and Ryley. Like, look at this. Look at this. Mighty Miner is now on the outside, and he just completely crushes. I mean, it's such a good play. He takes more or less no damage, and he can now just reset. Notice how the opponent had like 3 support cards on the field, and that's exactly why you don't want to go for your Goblin Barrels, or you don't want to be aggressive when you still have to defend. It takes no damage, which is kind of insane, like, honestly. But since he has Mighty Miner, I've said this many times, he goes for a Goblin Barrel when he has that 3-card cycle, just so he can get back to it. If he was paying a bit more attention, he could have logged that Bomber and kept his Princess alive, forcing out more Elixir, or at least just being annoying on the left side. But yeah, resets with a Princess in the back, goes for a Cannon in this placement, which is anti-Fireball, so you can't Fireball the tower and the Cannon. He resets with the Mighty Miner in the back. He mentions in the video that he does it in the back just so that he can have 3-card cycle for longer and just keep abusing it, which makes perfect sense. He uses his Mighty Miner ability just to get his Mighty Miner on the right side so he doesn't get pulled, and therefore he'll deal with the Ghost. You can see how he's just stacking Princesses, Cannons, and Ice Spirits, and in between just throwing Goblin Barrels continuously. Honestly, he makes this look so easy. I mean, I've never really played this deck, but he kind of makes me want to try it. He still has 3-card cycle. I mean, I think he had a Mighty Miner on the field for like 45 seconds there, which is insane. Takes no damage. Again, resets with the Princess in the back. You can see how he's not going Princess at the bridge. You shouldn't be going Princess in the bridge in this matchup. And the final thing to mention is that 2 rockets and 2 logs do how much damage? I think 1,252, and it's 626 damage for 1 rocket log. So he knows that, and so he just starts spell cycling. GG's, and yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed my analysis. If you guys want me to continue the other half of this video, make sure you like and subscribe.